Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and of course, we got Hoops in the Mamba Lakers jersey. What?
Yeah,
The
so
greatest
obviously,
jersey of
yes.
all time.
Oh, no doubt about it. And then here's the backside. Got the 8 on the front, the 24 on the back. Um, Obviously last night was the Kobe statue review, and the Lakers brought back these jerseys for one game. We don't need to talk about the result of that game just
Yeah.
yet, but yeah, we'll talk about the statue later, but in honor of Kobe's statue being released recently, had to represent the GOAT, man.
I probably should have done the same thing, but
That would have been cool.
it. Yeah, I showed you my new jersey, so it would have been a good idea to wear one of those. But something different that we usually don't do, we're recording during the day. I just got off of work, um, and got ready to record. Didn't even think about wearing a jersey, but I'm glad we're recording in the day. Your lighting looks a lot better, and I'm a lot more energized. So
Definitely.
that's cool. And yeah, as you mentioned, we're gonna be talking about the Kobe statue. Today is February 9th, as of the recording. Um, so we'll talk about that and a lot more, because this podcast episode is dedicated for doing a rundown on the entire season so far, the midway rundown, even though it's technically a little bit past the midpoint of the season. We still want to cover everything that has happened so far, some of the biggest storylines of the season so far. Um, Mostly because we did stop doing rundown videos for a bit. We had some more fun topics. We had episodes dedicated to our top 25 Lakers players, our top 25 players in the league right now. We had like a mini game episode. We had a lot of fun episodes, but since we did all that and missed a few weeks, including last week, which I was out of trips, that's why we didn't have an episode last week. Because of that, we thought it'd be a good idea to have a, an episode dedicated to going over some of the biggest stories and basically storylines that we might have missed or we've covered, but maybe there's some updates. So we will do that. But before we do, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Oh, happy belated birthday! All right, it
Oh,
was
thank you.
this past weekend, right? I hope you celebrated
Yeah, it was
well.
last Sunday. Didn't really do anything too extra special, but for the most part, just went out for a dinner with my parents. And then we went to the mall for a little bit earlier in the day, and aside from that, mostly just chill at home during the weekend, honestly. Um, so nothing too special, but definitely, I guess, one age up. Nowadays, birthdays are not as exciting as
Yeah.
when we were kids because now we want to stay younger and we're just
Uh
getting
huh.
older. But but this year specifically, one thing that is cool for me is that I turned 24, which is my Kobe year. Coincidence, as I'm wearing, well, technically the back is the 24.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the cool things about this year though. Living the Kobe year in the year 2024, and his statue just got released yesterday. Oh, of course, two more statues coming. We don't know when they'll be released, but definitely look forward to them.
Yeah. I look forward to that, and we got to do something hopefully soon to celebrate your birthday. I remember
Oh,
when
definitely.
I turned 24, I was really thinking about getting like a 24 tattoo, but my mom's gonna murder me if I come home with a tattoo. So I'll wait on that, but I think eventually I would get a tattoo in honor of Kobe. Hopefully sooner
Yeah.
rather than later.
That would be cool. But how have you been recently, Memo?
I could have been better. I was pretty sick this week. I'm still slightly recovering, so if I sound different, that's probably why. Funny enough, I've
Mm.
been making a lot of content on my other channel, like my music stuff. Like I've made a few TikToks and a video on the Grammy awards earlier this week. I recorded a video yesterday reacting to the new Little Sims EP. All while being sick, so I might sound a little gross in those videos, but like I felt like I had a lot of opinions, so I really wanted to get it out there. And but yeah, other than that, I've been okay. It could have been better since I was sick, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, going through it, despite the illness, pretty strong. Gotta respect it.
Thanks.
Yes,
Um.
sir. Mama mentality.
Oh, and yeah, as I kind of mentioned earlier, this past weekend I did go on a trip. I went to Mexico to celebrate my little sister's birthday, and that was pretty fun. The weather was a lot better there than it was here in California. It was sunny. The beaches were beautiful. Um,
Oh yeah,
and this
it
past
was
week,
raining
yeah, it
and
was
we
raining in California. There was
yeah
it got like kind of serious in certain parts, which was crazy, but we didn't get hit
yeah.
too badly. I think, which is good.
Which is ironic because usually SoCal we're talking about how we're the ones having such good weather. This week, not as much, but not too horrible either.
Yeah, I'll take a week of hard rain over like months of rain, snow, uh,
Yeah,
stuff like that. But okay,
for sure.
we do have a lot to cover and not a lot of time to do it. So let's start off by going over the standings, which we haven't done in a while. But you know, a lot has changed since the last time we've gone over the standings. Do you want to go first? You want to choose the conference?
Yeah, I guess I can go with the Eastern Conference.
Okay.
So, starting at the very bottom of the conference, we got the Detroit Pistons at 15th at 8 and 43. Started to play a little bit better lately. Number 14, we got the Washington Wizards at 9 and 41. At number 13, we got the Hornets at 10 and 40. Number 12, we got the Toronto Raptors at 18 and 33. Number 11, we got the Brooklyn Nets at 20 and 31. Number 10 was the current last spot in the play-in standings. We got the Atlanta Hawks at 22 and 29. At number 9, we got the Chicago Bulls at 25 and 27. At number 8, we got the Orlando Magic at 28 and 24. At number 7, we got the Miami Heat also at 28 and 24. At number 6, we got the Indiana Pacers at 29 and 24. At number 5, we got the Philadelphia 76ers at 30 and 20. The slight downward spiral due to Embiid out lately. Um, at number 4, we got the New York Knicks at 33 and 19. They were on a long win streak, but lost a little bit lately. Uh, Number 3, we got the Milwaukee Bucks, who are also at 33 and 19. Number 2, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers at 34 and 16. Pretty good lately. And at the very top of the conference, we got the Boston Celtics at 39 and 12. And those are our current standings of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, the Cavs probably being the biggest risers since the last time we've done this. They had a
Oh
slow
yeah.
start, a lot of injuries, but you know, Jared Allen started playing like an all star again. Donovan Mitchell's doing his thing, so that's a big reason why they're a lot higher now. And it's good because
Eight game win streak.
I expected them to be pretty good this season, and they're kind of surpassing my expectations at the moment. But we'll see if that lasts.
Yeah,
I felt like I
definitely.
cut you out there. Cut you off there. What did you say?
Oh, I was just saying, Cavs currently on a 8 game win streak.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy. It's
yeah,
very impressive
they've been on an upward spiral.
for sure. Now I'll cover the Western Conference. So at the very bottom is the Spurs with a 10-42 record. Number 14 goes to the Trailblazers with a 15-36 record. Number 13 goes to the Grizzlies with a 18-34 record. Number 12 goes to the Rockets. They are 23-27. The Warriors at number 11 at 24-25. The Utah Jazz, they're at 26-27. The Lakers are number 9 with a 27-26 record. The Mavericks are in the 8th seed with a 29-23 record. The Kings 7th seed 29-21. Pelicans 6th seed 30-21. Suns 5th seed 31-21. Clippers 34-16. They're in the 4th seed. The Thunder are in the 3rd seed with a 35-16 record. The Nuggets have a 36-16 record at number 2. And number 1 is the Timberwolves with a 36-16 record as well. And as we mentioned, I think we talked about this before the show, but the Clippers are probably the biggest risers for the West. I guess we could briefly talk about the James Harden trade, because that was going to be our first topic for the mid-season recap, was the James Harden trade, and how everybody thought it was a horrible idea for the Clippers. They had a losing streak. They seemed like they couldn't figure it out, and then boom, proved everybody wrong, including us, that James Harden might beat the system. He actually did help turn around the Clippers, and now they're one of the best teams on the West. So how do you feel about the Clippers and their huge turnaround?
Yeah, so it definitely proved me completely wrong. And in the beginning, when they first traded for Harden, obviously they didn't look very good. And good times back then. We thought that it was a bad move for the Clippers. It looked like it early on, but then ever since, I want to say beginning December, that's when they turned a complete 180. And then they went on long ass win streaks, like 8-game win streak, 9-game, maybe something like that. Recently they've been playing really good ball also. They did lose their last game against the Pelicans, but aside from that, they've been playing really good. And as you mentioned, James Harden actually has been doing really good for that team. And we'll see if they can do it in the playoffs, because as we know, looking back at history, the playoffs is completely different. That's when the Clippers usually fold, and it's also when Harden usually folds. So we'll see if they can break that narrative soon. But at this very moment, credit where it's due, Clippers just have been straight up balling out lately. As a Lakers fan, we don't like to see that, but unfortunately, we just gotta give credit where it's due.
Yeah, do you think they are up there in the Western Conference? As in, like, you think they'll make it to the conference finals, maybe even the finals? How do you feel?
I think that from a completely unbiased standpoint, it's possible if they can stay healthy. Obviously, recent years, one of the Clippers' main problems is that their superstars, primarily Kawhi and PG, just can't stay healthy during the playoffs or throughout the season. This year so far, it's been quite different. They've been healthy for the most part. Um, if they can maintain that, I think they could definitely go far. The thing is, like, this season, the Western Conference for the most part is pretty good with the competition. So I feel like it's pretty wide open to the point where it's definitely possible they could potentially go to the conference finals or the finals. I hope not, but it's possible.
Yeah, for me, I feel like the Nuggets is the team to beat in the West. But if any
Yeah.
other team in the West could beat them, I think it's the Clippers. I think they have the veteran talent. to surpass playoff obstacles. A lot of the teams that are very good right now, like OKC and the Timberwolves, they don't really have a lot of playoff experience, especially OKC. So I think they'll have a very hard time surpassing the Nuggets. But if any team can do it, it would be the Clippers. As you said, PG and Kawhi are playing like all-stars. They've been playing like every game, which is very surprising, but good for them. I do like the players, most of the players in the Clippers. So for me, it's like hard because I want to root for them, especially Westbrook. Westbrook, for years, was my favorite point guard, in the league. So I would love to see him win a ring, but it'd suck if he wins it with the Clippers.
Wrong team.
Yeah, wrong team, wrong LA team. But we
Yeah,
already tried, and
Yeah,
look how
it
that
didn't
turned
go
out.
well.
Yeah. And yeah, again,
Always OC.
yeah, yeah, should have won one in OKC. That's for sure.
2016.
Yeah, and then James Harden, he's been definitely helping out a lot as a playmaker. He's turning Zubats into like a pick and roll master. They practice that all the time. I've heard or I've seen interviews with Zubats explaining how much Harden has helped him with his game. So there's no denying that James Harden can be a very impactful player as long as you don't like mess with him. If you do, then that's where your team will start to spiral. But yeah, he's proved us wrong so far this season. So good for him. Good for him. But let's move on.
Yeah.
And briefly go over the in-season tournament. And I say briefly because we have a entire podcast dedicated to the bracket portion of the in-season tournament, which I feel like is the more interesting part, rather than like the group stages. But yeah, we could just go over this again. Like, how do you feel about the in-season tournament and how it played out?
I think that the in-season tournament was very entertaining. In a time where usually a lot of people just don't really have much interest to watch regular season games because there's so many throughout the season. Instead, they added a little fun tournament to get fans more engaged, also get the players more engaged and willing to want to play hard to win that cash. Ultimately, I think that it bring the best out of the team's abilities, especially for the top dogs that finished towards the end, like the Lakers who won it all. Brought out the best out of those teams because they really wanted to win the tournament. And I think that obviously in the beginning, a lot of people were confused why they did it because like risk of injuries or whatnot. But looking back now, it was so good for the NBA's views that it was clearly the right decision. That being said, of course we know that a lot of teams' seasons after the in-season tournament has been quite different. Like for example, the Lakers haven't been playing as well since, which is very frustrating. But if the entire season was the in-season tournament, I think the Lakers would be a much better team right now. Yeah. But all jokes aside though, the in-season tournament was definitely very entertaining and they for sure should keep it going forward.
Yeah, I agree. And they actually changed the name of the in-season tournament, so we know it
Oh,
will be
really?
a thing. Yeah, they got a sponsor, uh, Emiratis. I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's
Oh, Emirates?
Emirates. Yeah. What is that
Like
again?
Fly Emirates, that brand?
Oh, it's the
I know they use that brand for
an airline.
soccer.
An airline.
Ah,
Yeah, it's an airline, so they will be sponsoring the in-season tournament from now on, which of course means
yeah.
that the in-season tournament will continue to be a thing, and good. Like I thought, the in-season tournament was definitely the most entertaining part of the season so far. Maybe I am a little biased because that's when the Lakers were at their best. Ever since then, the Lakers have not been looking good. And there were some other teams that had a little slump after, like the Pacers. Um, but yeah, the
Yeah.
in-season tournament was fire. I'm glad the Lakers won the first ever in-season tournament cup. They put up a banner that was very controversial, but I thought it looked cool. I went to the game where they um, did the little ceremony to show off the new banner, so I got to see it there live in front of uh, a lot of other diehard Lakers fans for the first time, and it looks nice. I think it looks cool. The black and gold is always a killer combination in my opinion. So,
Oh yeah.
um, you know, I always liked it, but I know why people wouldn't like it as much.
I think that it looks cool. But one of the things that makes it annoying is like pretty much, for example, Lakers not playing very good afterwards. Then other teams are using that banner as a way to clown the franchise for not doing good afterwards, claiming a fake banner, which is really annoying. But of course, like the banner itself does look cool.
Yeah, and I feel like most teams shouldn't be talking if they don't even have like uh
They don't even have one.
an actual championship. Like
Yeah.
there's teams that have won nothing in their organizations and they're still talking. So it's
Yeah.
weird. But
Hmm.
yeah, I guess that's it for the in-season tournament. We could talk about something that I would have loved to talk about a lot, but because of the holiday season, which is when this was happening, we couldn't really cover it. And it was the Draymond Green suspension. I think we did talk about the first suspension when he choked out Rudy Gobert. He was out for 5 days or 5 games. Um, and then literally like a week or two after he came back from that suspension, he just randomly punched Nurkic in the face. And yeah, because of the frequency of his violent acts, the NBA was like, dude, you need help. And yeah, they Draymond Green was suspended indefinitely. It ended up being 12 games. How do you feel about that entire situation? I know there's a lot to go over, but what were your
Yeah.
thoughts about it?
I'll start by saying that the indefinite suspension, that was right. But I will say that I do think that 12 game suspension at the end was not enough. Because think about it. This guy, I know since he returned, he hasn't really done anything crazy out of the norm yet. It's only a matter of time before he will, knowing the type of dirty player he is. So like 12 games is honestly not really that severe of a suspension, knowing the things that he has done. I mean, especially like for example, John Morant suspended for 25 games. Granted, I know he did held like a weapon, but that was like on an IG live, and he wasn't trying to harm any players.
Yeah, he
Draymond Green
technically
is
didn't
literally,
do anything illegal, which is the thing. While Draymond Green, you
yeah,
could say he
he's trying to
assaulted
hurt
someone.
other players.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
which it
physically.
would be a crime normally.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, he should have had at least the 25 game suspension to match John Morant. I mean, like, I get it. A weapon is not good to hold in the public eye for the face of the league, but at least he wasn't trying to hurt anyone. Draymond is just trying to hurt anyone, like on the court for no reason. So I think that definitely, pretty much the NBA handled the situation right in every way, except for not making it longer. Um, but yeah, I think that he deserved the suspension. Hopefully he could not have as many of those incidents going forward, but probably just a matter of time because he is a dirty player.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I like the idea of him being out indefinitely. Like the mystery behind how many games he would be out, I think helped Draymond realize what he's done, and like his actions do have consequences because he had to do stuff in order to come back to the court. He had to go to therapy, I believe, and basically check off a bunch of things in order for Adam Silver to be happy and have him back in. I did get annoyed with the podcast that he dropped, like when he was returning, and like the things he said. I didn't watch it either, but I heard clips, so maybe I'm like taking stuff out of context. But he's mentioned how like he was contemplating retirement because he couldn't handle it anymore, even though what we're asking is you to stop hurting people, and apparently that's too much for him. Apparently that's enough for him to want to retire, which is bullshit. Like, dude, we should have learned this in like elementary school, that you can't be touching people and hurting people like that. But apparently, like, he didn't learn that, and yeah, it's too hard for him to like play basketball without assaulting people, apparently, because he was contemplating retirement and was basically trying to paint himself as a victim when he's not. He has been a dirty player for a long time, hurting people, like stomping on Sabonis, going after balls for some reason. He was really into that. That's just what he does, and people are tired of it. Like, just because you're a warrior doesn't mean you should get special treatment. You should be dealt with accordingly. And so I think Adam did the right call, suspending him indefinitely. And I think it did help Draymond a bit. I feel like he knows that if he messes up one more time, like something big will happen. Which I don't know what would happen, whether it's like those 25 games that you mentioned, a whole season, like who knows what Adam would do. I feel like that is something that he might consider. But yeah, again, Draymond's one of my least favorite players, so hearing him whine about how he's a victim and how he contemplated retirement was so stupid. It really was. And he also like was mad that people thought he needed help when he clearly needed help. Like, if you're a grown man and you don't know that you shouldn't be hitting people randomly, then you need help. Like, you need serious help. So I don't know. He just seems very stupid. He's smart on the court, but off the court, he's stupid. I wouldn't listen to him.
Yeah, and especially the fact that he was trying to play like victim and say that, like, for example, he didn't do it on purpose when clearly he did. Especially like, how do you accidentally hit people like that? Not once, not twice, not even 3 times, but like so many times. Like, it doesn't happen that many times by accident. Like, and granted, like, every single time he wasn't really apologetic, but the Nurkic one, he pretended to be like apologizing. He's like, but I do apologize to Yusef, even though probably isn't really. He just has to say it because he knew he was gonna get suspended. Like, yeah, a lack of accountability is definitely another thing about Draymond that makes him not a very likable player. Unless you're a Warriors fan. But the thing is, a lot of Warriors fans I know are also growing tired of him. So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, he lacks accountability. He lacks self-awareness. He lacks self-control. Like, there's a lot of things he lacks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess.
I was just gonna.
Or go on.
I was just gonna continue the comment about the Warriors fans that are also growing tired on him. For several reasons. One of them is like, of course, the lack of maturity and kind of costing the team a little bit with those ejections and whatnot. But of course, we know another reason a lot of Warriors fans don't like him anymore is the LeBron deriding, because they all hate LeBron. Draymond loves him. Yeah, that dude is wild.
He really is. I can't deny that he is a very important part of the Warriors. Like ever since he came back,
Yeah,
their defense is like top 10 now. Andrew Wiggins is playing good now because he has Draymond helping him on the defensive side. So he is very important. And I would
yeah,
say probably the second best player on the team at the moment, or maybe third behind Kaminga. That's all debatable, but um, I'll say this: it's for sure not Clay. That guy is washed, and bro doesn't
yeah.
even know it.
I don't know
It's
what happened
sad.
to him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy
I
about
don't
it
know what
because I
happened.
never liked him, but um, yeah, it's crazy how washed he is now, and he like it's hard for him to
Yeah.
accept it.
It is a crazy downfall for Klay Thompson.
Yeah, I heard his comments the other day saying how he used to be one of the best players in the league and now he's a scrub. But I don't even think he was like one of the best. Maybe the one of the best
He wasn't
role
like,
players, but not the best like players in the league.
yeah. I
Definitely not a
think that
superstar.
if there's any title that he has a right to say he was one of the best, it would be one of the best shooters.
Oh yeah,
But
for sure.
overall players, I don't know about overall players.
Yeah, at his prime he was a really good 3 and D guy. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, I wouldn't trust him to carry a team in the playoffs. That's for sure.
yeah. Imagine Klay Thompson trying to be the number one guy on the
Oh,
team. I don't think they would go
ugly.
very far.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay, enough warrior talk. That got gross. Well, let's talk
Yeah.
about actually something probably even grosser that I added last minute because I forgot about it. But we had history made this season. The Pistons have the longest losing streak in NBA history with a total of 28 straight games of ass. They've been losing game after game after game to the point where it became like a thing where like your team does not want to be the one to lose to uh the Pistons. Like people were watching Pistons games to see if they have a chance of winning. And yeah, they ended up beating Toronto Raptors right after the OG trade. Um so that's kind of the
Yeah.
biggest reason why they lost. And
Mhm.
they've had some
Or-
games, some wins since, but overall it has not been a great season for the Pistons. Obviously, getting the longest losing streak in NBA history. Uh, how did you feel about all that when it was going on?
Yeah. The Pistons obviously having the longest losing streak in NBA history proved that that team just obviously was a really bad team. Though I will say this, after that losing streak, they showed a few flashes. And it like before they beat the Raptors the night before, I think it was, they almost beat the Celtics in Boston, I remember. That was crazy. I wanted the Pistons to win that game so bad. Imagine. That would have been really cool. But they fell short, unfortunately. And then of course beat the Raptors, shorthanded Raptors, after trading OG. So probably the Raptors would have won if they had all their players available. But win is a win. Um, I do know the Pistons currently do happen to be on a 2 game winning streak, which is kind of impressive. Not gonna lie. They beat the Kings on Wednesday in Sacramento, decent team. And then last night they came back to beat the Trailblazers after down by 18, 19, I think, in overtime. So, um, credit to them, I guess. They're probably not going to end up being the worst team in NBA history because I know that if we're talking about like total number of wins, the 2011-12 Bobcats were the worst team at like 7-59. But if we're talking about the worst teams in a full 82 game season, that went to the 76ers, I believe, 72-73 season when they went 9-73. Now that the Pistons have won 8 games, they'll probably surpass the 76ers. I'll probably win a few more games, I would assume, unless they go back to complete shit again at this point forward. But they have been playing better lately. Of course, they did just trade away Boyan and Burks, so potentially maybe they'll be back down the level drain a little bit, which I would say isn't necessarily a bad thing for that team. I mean, get a higher draft pick, try to get better in your future because they're already bad regardless. But yeah, see what happens. I do know as you mentioned, it is kind of to the point where other teams just hope that they do not lose to this team because it's not a good look. Um, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and the funniest part about it was probably the Wingstop tie-in, where
Yeah,
like in order to get free wings, the Pistons had to win, and I think the other team had to like I don't know exact rules, but the Pistons had
I
to
think it
win,
would have.
and nobody in Detroit was able to get free wings for the longest time because they couldn't win.
Yeah, and I think it was only a regional thing in
Oh yeah,
Detroit
yeah.
because, like, yeah, of course. Imagine if it was like all of America, they would go bankrupt.
The day that they finally won, the entire United States leaves their house to get free wings. Imagine that. That would have been so
That'd be
funny.
hilarious. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been fun. Like they were that confident that they were not gonna win another game that they made that promotion for all of America.
Dude, that would
Imagine
have been crazy.
what could have been.
What could have
Yeah, it
been.
would have been even more hilarious if they actually never won another game. But I know that didn't happen. But that's the truth.
Detroit would be starving. They'd be in shambles right now.
Yeah. And the ironic part is they started the season not that bad. I
Oh,
think they were
yeah.
2-1. They were
Yeah.
above 500 for a moment.
For a moment,
Granted,
for
they did.
an hour.
Yeah. Granted, they did beat some bad teams. I
Uh
think
huh.
it was the Bulls and the Hornets, but yeah. But moving on, we can go to the next topic now, I
Yeah.
think. Um, the next topic we would like to go over would be John Morant when he returned for a brief moment, did pretty good, but then he got injured again, unfortunately. So, regarding that, I guess I can start with it.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I believe that when John Morant first returned, the Grizzlies immediately went on like a 5 game winning streak, and we thought this team could maybe make a major turnaround this season and potentially go for a playoff run. It looked like that. They were beating some really good teams and all that. But then unfortunately, John Moran got hurt and then he was out again. And I'm not gonna lie, I remember like hearing like John Morant out for the season. I didn't see what happened, like the injury or whatnot. For a second, when I heard that he was out for the season, I thought he got resuspended. And then I'm like, oh shit, he got injured? Damn, that's not good. Um, but yeah, obviously once he got injured again, that was the end of the Grizzlies officially because that team isn't good without him. They had a few okay games without him, but overall, without John Morant, has been literally the Grizzlies. In previous years, the Grizzlies were able to win without him when they had guys like Tyus Jones, even Dylan Brooks and stuff like that. But now, without those guys, they haven't been able to do much without him. So it's unfortunate that he got hurt again. Of course, despite his off court issues, John Morant is still one of the more fun players to watch when he is healthy. Um, Hopefully he's able to recover from this injury well, come back next season, and return to form. And of course, stay out of off court trouble. But yeah, Memo, what are your thoughts on everything about John Morant?
Yeah. It was such a shame because, like, although I was definitely critical about John Moran's actions with showing off his gun multiple times. I thought doing it twice was what got me riled up and made me agree with Adam Silver's decision to uh, suspend him for the first 25 games of the season. Um, that's what really pushed it over the edge for me. But with that said, he is an incredible talent, and I do wish the best for him. Like, uh, I do agree with him being suspended because a lot of kids look up to him, and I want kids to look up to him because there's a lot of like figures out there that are very popular that kids are into that they really shouldn't be looking up to. John Morant should be one of those people that kids should look up to because he is a talented young man, and it was showcased a little bit in the season because the Grizzlies sucked, but when John Morant came in, the whole team turned around. It was crazy. They were able to get more wins than the Pistons with that John Morant stint. And and he played like 5 games, while the Pistons, of course, were there all season. So it's crazy how impactful this man is, uh, for the Grizzlies, and it was such a shame that he got injured and is now out for the season. Hopefully, this John Morant is still young, so it's definitely not wasting. Well, in a way, it is wasting a year of his prime, but he's not even like in his prime yet, if you know what I'm saying. So I feel like a year break is fine, I guess, since it's still early. Well, having the Grizzlies play their young guys right now is a good idea. Unfortunately, the whole team is riddled with injuries right now, which is unfortunate. But hopefully, this means they will get a decent draft pick, and next season they'll do a lot better. And although the Lakers and Grizzlies had a slight back and forth, especially during the playoffs, I do wish the best for the Grizzlies and for John Morant moving forward. That's for sure.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. Hope Ja could return back to form next season. He's still young, hasn't really peaked yet. I mean, granted, he is already really good,
Yeah,
but he has room to get better because he's still so young. So obviously, this type of injury is not something anyone will want to have, but a little rest, come back strong next season. I think he'll be okay.
yeah. Hope so. Hope so. But yeah, let's move on to the next topic, which is one of the craziest things to happen. We don't have to talk about it a lot, but Adrian Griffin getting fired, even though his team was the second seed. This isn't the first time this has ever happened. I forgot his name, but he was the coach for the Cavs. He was Russian.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, David Blatt.
Yeah, the Cavs were
They
doing
fired him.
really good that season, and they fired him for Ty Lue, which ended up being a great decision because Ty Lue is a great coach and led them to a
Yeah,
championship. But yeah, the Bucks decided to
I
do
am
the
shocked.
yeah, yes, it's shocking. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'll you know what? I'll let you go. How do you feel about
Yeah.
that situation overall?
I'll say this: when I saw that the Bucks fired Adrian Griffin, I was in complete shock because, as mentioned, that team wasn't playing bad. I mean, they were the number two seed in the Eastern Conference, only behind the best team in the league, Boston Celtics, record wise. Um, and like my guess is that the reason he got fired is because he lost the locker room and he wasn't really popular amongst the players. But then it's like the team was the second seed, so I wonder how bad exactly it could have been. So it was a pretty unfortunate situation. Um, but then after that, when they fired Adrian Griffin, well, first off, I remember the first game after they fired him, the Bucks were like dancing, celebrating pregame. Like they were so happy that guy was gone.
Apparently,
That
they
was
do
so
that all the time,
outrageous.
but like the timing was funny. I will say that.
Yeah, the timing was funny. Um, it just seemed like they were overly happy that night. I hope that's not the reason why they were dancing like that, but it could have been. So it's kind of messed up. Of course, the players, when in the interviews, they won't say anything bad about him because they don't want to throw him under the bus like that. But who knows how they actually feel? That being said, after they fired Adrian Griffin, the decision to bring in Doc Rivers as the replacement, I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. I mean, of course, we know Doc Rivers is one of those coaches that is really good in the regular season. But then come playoffs time, his teams just completely choke in the playoffs. With the exception of 2008 when he had that super team in Boston, ever since then, he just hasn't been the same in the playoffs. So I didn't necessarily like that hire by the Bucks. But granted, I don't know who they would have hired instead because I don't really know who really was out there that was like that good, but per se. In the off season, of course, they could have hired Nick Nurse. That would have been a really good hire, or even Monty Williams before he got hired by the Pistons. But obviously, we heard that the reason they hired Adrian Griffin is because Giannis was a fan of him. Seemed like they were good together, but unfortunately, come season, it wasn't the same. And I think I heard one of the things that frustrated them was the change of scenery on defense. I saw this one video. It was about like breakdown, like why Adrian Griffin got fired. I think one of them was because like instead of letting Brook Lopez guard like the paint down low, he would keep him like outside top the towards the key, like around the top of the key, to the point where the other team would just switch their like do a pick and roll switch and leaves the other shooter wide open, and oftentimes they would just make easy shots. So I guess the dip on defense was also another reason why Adrian Griffin got relieved. It was unfortunate. It was shocking, but we'll see if they do better going forward.
Yeah, I understand why they would fire Adrian Griffin, even though he led the team to the second seed. Because as he said, the team really didn't really have his back. They did. They seemed like they didn't really mess with Adrian Griffin, and of course his this team suffered a lot in defense. So maybe looking for a coach that can help with that would have been great. I know he had made a lot of changes compared to the last Bucks coach. What's his name? Budenholzer?
Budenholzer?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
Mike Budenholzer.
right, right. So I think the team struggled with adapting to a new coaching style and ended up hurting the team's defense overall. So again, I understand why they would fire Adrian Griffin because it seemed like there was a lot of issues that still need to be worked on and he wasn't going to be able to help. But they ended up hiring Doc, and right now it's not looking good. They don't have a winning record with Doc. And, I do think he's a good coach, at least for the regular season. He could lead you to a really good uh, seed. But during the playoffs, it's again, he chokes a lot. He doesn't know how to adjust his lineups. That is one of his weaknesses. And it makes me wonder, like, how much better is Doc gonna make your team compared to Adrian Griffin? Because now the Bucks have to pay for three coaches, um,
Yeah.
and it's just a stupid decision, I guess. Maybe Doc will rile them up and be chummy with the guys and at least help the locker room. But I feel like this is not the best way to save your season. I I, I don't have high hopes for the Bucks when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah, honestly, I agree about the move not really being. Can't really see it being too big of a difference maker. Obviously, they did make a few moves during the trade deadline, which we will go over in a bit potentially, but we'll see. Maybe it could get better. Hopefully, they get better from our sake because prefer someone to beat the Celtics,
Mm-hmm.
Lakers fans. But yeah, we'll see. Not sure how we're feeling about the move, but only time will tell.
Yeah. And I do like the Bucks, and I do like Giannis, but this was definitely a bad move by Giannis because we know he had a heavy hand over the coaching, and he wanted Adrian instead of Nick Nurse, but that's obviously a stupid decision. Nick Nurse is a great coach, and he could have had him,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know what happened. But let's move on because we have a few more topics, and we're kind of running out of time. So let's talk about the crazy scoring output that a lot of the players have had recently. Most notably, Joel Embiid's 70-point game and Luka Dončić with 73 points. These two happened recently and happened like a week apart from each other, which was crazy. And on those very same nights, I believe Booker scored over 60 in a loss, and Cat scored over 60. I think 60 in a loss, which is crazy. And they both
Yeah.
got overshadowed because two players got over 70 points, which I think is fun to see. I love it when just berserk stuff like that happens. Like, as I love looking over stats, looking over players' career highs, and seeing that players are now getting career highs in the 70s, and it's happening more frequent. I think it's really cool, but I know a lot of people are mad about that. How do you feel about that?
I think there's definitely the mixed feelings. I mean, overall, I think it's really cool seeing the players put up big numbers as well. Um, I do know like Steve Kerr was the one that expressed his frustrations the most, saying he thinks that the game should be changed because those high scoring performances he thinks is like I don't remember what his official words was, maybe like ruining the game. I don't know.
I didn't know he said
My
that. I thought I
he
knew
said
Stephen
something
A.
similar.
Smith was very against it, but I didn't know Steve Kerr was.
Yeah, I saw like an article for Steve Kerr. But I will say this. I think that a lot of it also depends on how they score the 70 or however many points. Like for example, if they're working their way to get a lot of those shots, hard nailed shots, or like working to get those shots off and scoring is like higher. And those are the really fun, high scoring affairs. But if it's one of those games where like that superstar is only getting all those points because of first off, living at the free throw line, for example, like shooting like 20 to 30 free throws in a game. Like the reason why I say that is because like 15 could be kind of common. But like I will say like if it's a lot of free throws involved in getting to that point spread, then it's not as exciting. But if it's more so like the players working their way to getting those tough shots off, I think that's really fun to watch these high scoring performances. So I think it definitely depends how it's done. But overall, I think that seeing those high scoring performances is a really cool thing to watch.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure. Continue.
and granted, yeah, and I was like looking there at this one chart, so far this season. So far, there's been two 70-point games that we mentioned. There's been three 60-point games, and then there has been, let me see, eight 50-point games this season, and then 45 points and up has been 12. So that's quite a number of insane scoring performances so far this season of 45 and up. I think that for our sake, one of the things is We just hope that Kobe's 81 point performance will be safe.
True,
Those
true.
other players can score anything 80 points and below. Um, but overall, it's been cool to watch these high scoring affairs.
It's gonna happen, unfortunately. I think it's gonna happen
I think there's a
soon.
chance. I think there's a chance it's gonna happen. I don't know about. We'll see about the 100 thing. That's gonna be hard.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that it's bound for 81 to be passed. Probably. I mean, 73 is pretty close.
It kind of
It's
is.
eight
Yeah, yeah.
points away. Yeah.
Three threes.
Hmm.
But yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. Especially like it's fun seeing players score those high numbers, but when they absolutely like deserve to, like when Cat was going for 60, the Timberwolves were trying their best to make sure he gets 60. But when you compare with like Donovan Mitchell last year, they needed Donovan to get those points because it was an overtime game. He was doing it for the win, while the Timberwolves were just doing it for a record, which is two different things,
Yeah.
So two different mentalities, for sure. So yeah, I think it's cool. I think the 81 point game will be in jeopardy because we've had four 70 point games within the past year. We had Donovan Mitchell go for over 70, then Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid, Luka Dončić. This is not even including Devin Booker, who did it early on in his career. Like, these are
2017, I
crazy.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy scoring outputs. He did that in a loss, too. Uh,
Yeah.
Loser. But uh, yeah, I think they're fun. I think they're awesome, and I hope to see these outliers again. Maybe not anytime soon. I don't want it to be like a thing every week, but seeing
Yeah.
this happen every year is kind of cool. I can't lie.
Yeah. I agree. I think something like this a few times a year is cool. Every week, definitely too
Yeah,
much.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on to the All Star teams because next weekend is gonna be the All Star game, and we will for sure try to go cover all of that throughout. We'll try to cover the weekend, but let's go over the All Star teams because we did make our prediction video about for the All Star teams um, a few weeks ago. I'm just pulling up the roster, but
Mhm.
yeah, we were close. I feel like we were close to picking the correct roster. Do you want to go over like the Eastern Conference and then I could go over the Western Conference?
Sure. So, starting with the let's see. Okay, sure. Starting with the Eastern Conference starters, the captain is Giannis, and the other starters in the Eastern Conference are Joel Embiid, Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard, and Jason Tatum. The reserves for the Eastern Conference: Bam Adebayo, Paulo Banchero, Scotty Barnes as injury replacement, Jalen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Julius Randle, who's injured, and Trey Young, who is his injured replacement. So in summary, Joel Embiid and Julius Randle will not be playing, and their replacements are Scotty Barnes and Trey Young.
And I think
Overall,
go on.
not bad.
Yeah, yeah, not bad. I think they did a good job picking the replacements because definitely Trey and Scotty Barnes were snubbed. Even though I did snub Trey when I did my predictions video, I didn't have him on my roster. I think I had like Paulo instead. Um, he definitely deserves to be an All Star. Like he is really good at his job. But I kind of just preferred Paulo because of the slightly better record. Let me go over the Western Conference, and then we could talk about uh, maybe the biggest surprises and our initial thoughts on these rosters. So in the West, We got Luka Dončić, Kevin Durant, Shea, LeBron James as the captain, and Nikola Jokic. They are the starters for the Western Conference. And then the reserves include Devin Booker, Stephen Curry, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Karl Anthony Towns. So, compared to your predictions, like how shocking or not shocking was the actual All-Star team selections?
I think overall, not too shocking. Most of these players who were on the list, I think, did deserve to make it. I know I did not pick Julius Randle to make it. Though
I
I'm not really that shocked.
Yeah, I
I'm not
didn't
that
do it
shocked.
either.
I'm not that shocked he made it, but I do feel like there are other players that could have made it over him. Um, I think for the most part, all of the players that I mentioned did end up getting in. So, of course, Scotty and Trey got in via injury replacement and not initial selections. But at the end of the day, most of them did, at least for the Eastern Conference. As a
Same.
matter of fact, I think maybe all of them did. Um, but as far as the Western Conference goes, um, I think there were a few players that I picked that did not end up making it. And if there were any shocking ones to me per se, I think it was a little bit shocking De'Aaron Fox didn't make it. Also, Rudy Gobert was one guy that I picked to make it, and he also didn't make it. Um, at the end of the day, though, looking at who got picked, I guess it's not that bad, those guys, because everyone who made it were good players. But yeah, I think that it was somewhat shocking those two didn't make it.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar with you. For the East, I basically called everybody. I just didn't include Julius Randle. And I technically didn't include Trey Young, but I'm glad he's on the team. I didn't include Julius just because I don't want to see him at the All Star game. He's just gonna be running up and having the most ugliest shot up. It's not gonna be fun. But for the West, I didn't expect
Same guys, right?
the same. Yeah, Carl Anthony Towns. I thought he
Let's
shouldn't be
see.
in it. I thought Rudy Gobert deserved him more. Me personally, though, I would have loved Domantas Sabonis over both of them. But I know Gobert is a more important player for the Timberwolves, and they have the current number one seed. So I thought it made more sense for Gobert to be in it, but Cat to be in it is very shocking to me. He does have the better scoring stats, but Gobert is the more important player. I didn't have Devin Booker. I think out of spite. Uh,
I think I think that I knew Devin Booker had a chance to make it, but I also didn't pick him to make it.
I mean, he's
Maybe
having
a
an
little.
All Star season. Like obviously he was gonna be an All Star, but I'd rather have Fox over Devin Booker. I just like Fox a
Yeah,
lot more. So for me,
I
Fox
know.
was snubbed. Gobert was snubbed, and Domantas Sabonis. He's like averaging a near triple double, and is probably playing as the number one guy in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Fox is a little inconsistent at the moment, but I think because of the Kings, like small little downfall from last year, uh, that is probably why they ended up not getting an All Star. But they deserved at least one. So it's crazy
Mhm.
that Cat got in it instead of Demontis, or uh, I guess that is the more crazy thing. I'm the crazy one that believes Fox should be over Devin Booker, but that's just the hater in me saying that. So it makes sense
Yeah.
that
And I
Booker's
will
in it,
say
but
this.
not Cat.
Yeah. One of the things about the Western Conference is that they didn't need any injury replacements, at least yet. But the Eastern Conference of course needed two of them. So if there does happen to need any Western Conference replacements, maybe one of those guys we mentioned will make it.
Who would be like your
But
number
at
one
the moment,
pick?
um, let's
I
see,
think for me,
probably Fox.
Sabonis. Ooh, we went
I
for
would say
Kings,
I would
but
say between those two. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, remember last year, Fox didn't get in until he was an injury replacement. So if they need
Oh, I
another
forgot
injury
about that.
replacement, history could repeat itself.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that I want anyone to get injured, but if anyone does get injured, those are the guys that deserve to get in.
true.
Um, yeah. Overall, not bad.
Yeah, not bad. And let's move on to the trade deadline, which was yesterday. Uh, a lot of trades happened, and we will not go over all of them because I think that could be its own episode, um,
Yeah.
which I don't want to do, to be honest. It'll be old
That's
news.
too many trades.
Too many, for sure. And to be honest with
Yeah.
you, I don't like trade talk, honestly. For me,
You don't like trade.
it's like a Kanye rollout because Kanye will say he has a new album and he'll give a release date, but you don't know if it's true or not. That's how I feel about trade rumors. The Lakers will say that they will trade for DeJounte Murray, but will it actually happen? In this case, no. We just wasted our time coming up with fake trades for a player that's not even that good. So that's how I feel about it. I feel like it's cool when something actually happens, but when nothing happens, I feel like it's a little lame. But there was some
Hey,
good trades that
yeah.
happened.
I was gonna say like I agree. Like I think that some trade rumors in terms of like coming up with trade proposals could be fun. But at a certain point it's like a lot of the times it's just fantasizing to the point where it doesn't end up happening at the end. So I could
Yeah,
get where you're coming from.
yeah. So we'll do this since we don't have a lot of time. What are some of your favorite trades that happened during the trade deadline? Of course, there were other trades that happened, like the OG trade that really helped out the Knicks. Pascal Siakam is with the Pacers now. We never talked about that, but he's doing his thing there. Terry Rozier is with the Heat, which at the moment is a little shaky, but I'm sure he could win them a game in the playoffs. But based off of the trades that happened yesterday, what were some of your favorites?
I think that one of the biggest trades is the Sixers trading for Buddy Hield. Granted, they gave up some pieces, but I don't think the pieces that they gave up were that crazy, honestly. They gave up Furkan Korkmaz, um, Marcus Morris, and some cash, I believe, and maybe draft picks. Not that crazy, honestly. Getting a guy like Buddy Hield is definitely well worth that cost. So, not a bad move for the Sixers there, getting Buddy Hield.
Especially since
I think
Embiid is out, they're missing 35 points a game basically. So he'll definitely help out getting some points. Not
yeah,
35, but he'll help out for sure.
definitely. Also, the Sixers have been on a losing streak lately, so anything could help for sure. Um, Another big trade that I think was really good was the Knicks trading for Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks. In the process, they gave up Evan Fournier, Malachi Flynn, Quentin Grimes, Ryan Arcidiacono, two future second round picks and cash considerations. Honestly, it sounds like a lot of names they gave up on paper, but I don't think any of them are like crazy
Quentin
ones.
Grimes is
So
pretty
like
good. He'll
he's
definitely help
good,
out
yeah,
the Pistons. But yeah, this is for sure
yeah,
my favorite trade from yesterday. I think the Knicks just elevated themselves to another level because one of the things that they were lacking, especially after the OG trade, was their bench help. After trading away quickly and Barrett, uh, their bench kind of started to suck a little bit. Alec Burks and especially Bojan Bogdanovic is gonna help a lot. I'm a big Boyan fan. I had him on my fantasy team last year, so I know he could be a bucket, and I'm sure he will help out the Knicks, especially with OG out. He'll definitely help out offensively. So definitely my favorite trade of the night.
yeah. And then after that, I think that another trade that was pretty big was the Suns trading for Royce O'Neal and David Roddy in the three-team trade with Memphis and Brooklyn. In the process, they just gave up a 2026 first round pick swap to Memphis. They also gave the Grizzlies Chimezi Metu and Yuta Watanabe. The Nets received Keita Bates Diop, Jordan Goodwin, draft rights, and 3 second round future picks. Overall, I think the Suns definitely got better in this process, knowing Royce O'Neal is a really decent wing, and David Roddy is a pretty good young stud as well. Seeing Royce get traded to the Suns definitely made me like, it was like, damn it, I didn't like that happen, but credit to them, it was a good move, honestly.
Yeah, it was a great move.
And
Like a lot of their bench players were not really helping out, so Royce O'Neal and David Roddy are definitely gonna improve their bench.
definitely, and a few more trades I think that were big. And I think this one was sneaky good, honestly. It was the Celtics trading for Xavier Tillman. And in the process, they gave up Lamar Stevens, a 2027 second round pick, and a 2030 second round pick. They didn't really give up anything too crazy. Xavier Tillman is a pretty decent big man. He had some flashes in the first round series against the Lakers last year for Memphis. Um, yeah, pretty much Celtics adding big man depth, something that they needed. I think that was a sneaky good move.
Oh yeah,
Unfortunately, it was.
that's true. We know Kristaps gets injured a lot. Horford is getting up there in age, so a backup big like Tillman is gonna help them a lot.
hmm And I think there was just one other trade that kind of stood out to me a little bit, and it was the trade between the Bucks and the Sixers that sent Patrick Beverley to Milwaukee, and 76ers got Cameron Payne in the 2027 second round pick. I think that this trade potentially could help both teams. Um, Bucks getting a defensive anchorer and a player that would get under the opponent's skin versus the Sixers. They also get a younger guy. I mean, personally, I feel like Cam Payne probably is the better player between the two. But Patrick Beverly is the one that brings more of a toughness, I believe. So potentially this could be a good move for both teams, I think. Particularly the Bucks maybe needing some more defensive toughness after losing Drew Holiday. And also, of course, Doc and Patrick Beverly having the continuity. That could potentially be a good thing too. I see memes about like saying Doc Rivers will use Patrick Beverly the same way as Darvin Ham and Torian Prince playing favorites. We'll see. It's possible, but I think that's potentially a move that will help both contenders in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I almost forgot about this trade, but yeah, this was definitely one of the better trades I think because the Bucks desperately needed good defense, especially uh their perimeter defense lacks with Lillard and Beasley as your two starting guards. The defense there is abysmal, so Patrick Beverly is gonna help out a lot, and they weren't really playing Cameron Payne like that either. So trading him away and a second round pick is not too bad for Patrick Beverly, and I'm sure the Sixers are willing to take a chance on Cameron Payne, especially since he was pretty good with the Suns, which wasn't too long ago. So, yeah, I think a good trade overall. I'm surprised you haven't mentioned, or you might have uh, been planning to mention, the Thunder trade from yesterday. How they
Oh
were.
yeah,
You want to go over
that
it?
trade. Yeah. So OKC Thunder they traded for Gordon Hayward. In the process, they gave up Vasilije Micic, Trey Mann, Davis Bertans, 2020 second round pick via Houston, and 2025 second round pick via Sixers. Um, I didn't think of this as like a really crazy trade, knowing that Gordon Hayward is really injury prone and he's not quite the same player as he was like, let's say 7 years ago, 2017, 2016. I think that was his prime. But knowing that OKC is a young team that's already really good, currently third seed in the Western Conference, and should end up with a really high seed. I think the fact that they're trying to take a gamble on a guy like Hayward isn't really a bad thing, especially because most of those guys they gave up weren't really like crazy. Like for example, Trey Mann has shown flashes, and Davis Bertans is a pretty good 3-point shooter. But taking a chance on Gordon Hayward, I say it's a low risk, high reward type of move in a sense like if he gets hurt, that would be bad, but at least he didn't give up like two crazy pieces. If he can stay healthy and like play at least like a decent six-man type role, that could potentially be a sneaky good move. Honestly, I didn't really think too much about this trade initially, but it could potentially be good for OKC.
Yeah, I really like it for OKC. Yeah, Gordon Hayward does get injured a lot. He hasn't played since December, but when healthy, he could be a really good player. Not all star Gordon Hayward, but he could maybe possibly win OKC a game or two in the playoffs. And I think it's not even a risk because I think his contract is expiring this season, so they don't have to pay him long term after this season, which is good if it doesn't work out. Um,
Definitely.
any other traits you want to bring up that are more on like the
Um,
good side? There's one I'm thinking of,
I
but
feel like I feel like during the trade deadline, those are the main like bigger trades. The other ones are kind of just like whatever. Of course, like a few days before the trade deadline or a week before a trade deadline was when the Rockets and the Grizzlies made the trade that sent Steven Adams to Houston and gave Memphis Victor Oladipo and three second round picks. Pretty much um Steven Adams is injured right now. When he isn't injured, he's really good. And Victor Oladipo has a history of being injury prone, but when he isn't injured, he's also usually pretty good. So it's one of those type of trades that like I guess both teams are somewhat taking a gamble on an injury guy, and then we'll see what Memphis does with Victor. Maybe they'll get rid of him, maybe they'll keep him. I don't know. But this was kind of like a whatever trade, but more about like teams looking down the road, I guess. Like in the sense Rockets could get Steven Adams when he's healthy, maybe next season or maybe even late this season. Don't know this timetable. And then Grizzlies getting some picks from the trade. Teams looking into the future.
well, the last trade I do want to mention that was I thought was pretty good yesterday. Maybe I missed it. Maybe you did mention it already. But the Mavs adding PJ Washington from the Hornets.
Oh, I didn't mention that.
Yeah, the Mavs
So go ahead.
received PJ Washington and two second round picks. The Hornets received Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a 2027 first round pick. And I thought it was a good trade for the Mavs to get PJ Washington, who at his best is a really good 3-and-D player, which is going to be important for um, the Mavs moving forward. We know that they like to shoot threes, and defense is something that they need to work on. And if PJ could uh, play good defense again, I'm sure he will help out the Mavs. And also, I heard a lot of talk about how a lot of the players, the organization, just were tired of Grant Williams. They just didn't vibe with Grant Williams. So I guess they shipped his chunky ass all the way to Charlotte. And yeah, I guess that's a win in my eyes. I think PJ will definitely help out the Mavs.
Definitely. Yeah. So I think that in terms of the trade deadline, we mentioned most of the biggest moves that happened yesterday. Of course now a lot of teams are looking over to the buyout market. Some of the top candidates for the buyout market probably There's a list of guys like maybe Kyle Lowry, Spencer Dinwiddie, Evan Fournier, Davis Bertans, Marcus Morris, Harris, Danilo Gallinari. List goes on. So we'll see what happens with those players. Obviously teams like the Lakers who didn't make any moves, they're gonna want to look at the buyout market. Hopefully we can get someone from that list.
I
Is
heard
there
that
is
Spencer
there
Dinwiddie was what the Lakers were looking at, and I believe
I
the
heard, yeah.
Sixers were thinking about getting Lowry.
Yeah, I heard about those rumors. What are your thoughts on the Lakers potentially getting Dinwiddie? I'm kind of like mixed on it. Like what it's whatever.
I'm fine with it. I mean, he at his best, he's pretty good. He's a good
Yeah.
scoring option, and we do have injuries. Like we've had injuries throughout the season. Gabe Vincent has barely played this season, so adding him on will definitely help, especially with like the injury insurance. Um, but yeah, but there's a reason why he gets traded all the time. A lot of people don't like him, but on Twitter, I've heard that he like kind of does want to be a Laker. Like,
I
uh,
heard, yeah.
so if he's willing to be a Laker and willing to try, then I'm willing to accept him as a Laker.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I'd be okay either way, honestly. If he comes, cool, I guess. If he doesn't come, I'm also okay with it. But if there were any other guys that Lakers could consider, I think that, for example, Marcus Morris maybe wouldn't be a bad ad. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, he's not the same Marcus Morris as a few seasons ago, but he's still decent bench player, I think.
Yeah.
And Danilo Gallinari, he's old now, but he's still a decent 3-point shooter, which is something the Lakers could definitely use. Maybe same for Davis Bertans, another good 3-point shooter. Um, I heard rumors of the Lakers potentially being interested in Lowry. I'm not sure about that one because he's not the same as before. He's older now, you name it.
Yeah, we need a
But
scoring option, not a
yeah,
defender, which I feel like that's what Lowry kind of is. Even though, I
yeah.
don't know, but we need a shooter,
Hmm.
and I think especially Dinwiddie can shoot a bit, and he is a good scoring option.
Yeah. But I did hear there was like apparently something about some of the top contenders that I guess have some cap issues. Bucks, Celtics, Clippers, Heat, Nuggets, Suns, and Warriors would not be able to sign players that are making at least $12.4 million via the buyout market. And that includes some of those names I mentioned
Oh,
earlier. Kyle Lowry, Spencer Dinwiddie, Evan Fournier, Davis Bertans, Marcus Morris, and Joe Harris. Um, so I guess that boosts certain lower tier teams' chances from signing those players. But we'll see what happens if
yeah,
they even get bought out in the first place. Because
yeah,
who knows? Maybe some of those teams want to keep those guys, even if they don't have much of a reason to. But should definitely be interesting keeping an eye on the NBA buyout market.
yeah. We'll see. And I guess to wrap up this part, who do you think was the biggest winner and biggest loser?
Let's see. I think that probably biggest winner, okay, maybe the Knicks.
I
I
think
mean,
so too.
Boyan and Burks, pretty good.
OG from
Another,
a few weeks ago as well. That's already helped them a
yeah,
lot.
definitely. Like he's injured now, but he was playing really good, and when he comes back, they're just gonna go right off the momentum.
Yeah.
Um, Even like the Sixers getting Buddy Hield, I think that was pretty good. Um, as far as losers go, I haven't really put too much thought into that one, but potentially there were some teams that, for example, either didn't do too much or they were more so unloading and getting players. Um, Honestly, I'm not too sure about a loser at the moment.
I got a
Um,
couple ideas. Um,
yeah, I mean, you can consider the Lakers as
yeah,
losers for not making a move, for example.
But
But we'll see after the buyout market if that
yeah,
changes.
but at the same time, what
Uh,
move could have they done to help the season? I don't.
I don't
I think
know.
we're cooked. I think it's over. There's nothing we could have done to improve our season. I think. But my biggest
We'll
loser
see.
for the trade deadline, Killian Hayes. He wanted to be traded
Oh yeah, I forgot.
from the Pistons, and instead he got waived because no one wants him, and I could see why. He sucks at his job. So he's waived now. We'll see what happens to him, but it's kind of funny how that happened.
Yeah. Imagine he gets signed by the Lakers.
Oh God, no, thank you. Speaking of
Yeah, Killian
Lakers,
Hayes
oh, go on.
has been a bust. Yeah, but moving on.
Okay, moving on. Very last topic before we go. Speaking of Lakers, as we mentioned earlier, yesterday was 2/8/24, February 8th, 2024, and it was revealed that Kobe's statue was revealed. Today it's now open for the public, but yesterday they did a whole ceremony dedicating it to Kobe Bryant, announcing that he will have a total of three statues. Right now, the statue that is out for the public is the one where he is wearing number 8. It's him pointing up to the sky right after he scored 81 points. That is where they got that reference from. So that is now up out in the public, and eventually we will get two other statues. One with him wearing a number 24 jersey, and then one with him and his daughter, which is a very like touching way to celebrate their lives. But yeah, how do you feel about the statue, the future statues, and maybe the ceremony in general?
I think that the statue overall wasn't bad. Like I know that there were some criticisms that were given by some of the fans. Like for example, the right arm seemed a little bit larger than the left arm, or the right leg looked kind of different compared to the left leg, or maybe the face didn't necessarily look a lot like Kobe per se, but overall, I thought it was fine, I guess. Um, I think that the idea of them having three statues is pretty cool. Um, one for 8, one for 24, and one for him and Gianna together. Um, we'll see. I think that it should be cool seeing what those two will be looking like too. Hopefully they'll be cool. I was thinking that for the 24 one, it would be cool if either they do the statue of when Kobe was celebrating his fifth ring after the Celtics, where he was like this, at
That's
like
my
the
top
back of
choice. That's my top choice for
that.
sure.
Yeah, either that or that fadeaway buzzer beating three against the Heat in 2009. I think would be really cool statues. Um, I think that the Celtics celebration one probably number one choice, and then the Heat one number two choice.
It would be
But
cool to have an action shot of like a Kobe fadeaway as a statue too. So I wouldn't be mad
definitely
with either, but definitely the 2010 celebration one would be my top choice.
agreed. And then Kobe and Gianna one. Anything that shows the two's closeness would be really cool, honestly. I feel like it would be hard to go wrong with that one.
For sure.
So right now we don't know when they're gonna reveal those next two statues. But when they do or announce it, it should be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it should be. And now Staples Center has like a ton of statues like everywhere. No other arena is like that, which is interesting. And we're gonna have two more soon.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, anything else you want to say before we wrap it up? We had a lot to talk about, and I think we did a good job covering all of it. I think so.
I think so too. I think for the most part we did cover everything. Not too much else that we really need to mention, I don't think. Um, Overall, good to be back for another episode after a 1 week hiatus, and we look forward to adding more interesting content. We were just talking before the show that next weekend we would like to do a All-Star Weekend recap. So that should be exciting too.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if Kobe statues get revealed by then, we'll also have our thoughts on that.
You think it'll be
A
soon?
number, I don't know when. Like no idea.
I think it might be a
Kind of
while.
left. They kind of left us hanging. Yeah, it
Yeah, they
might be a
did.
while.
They did.
Yeah. Honestly, it might be, huh? Maybe they just took the time to make this one reveal to the public, and then they're currently still making the other two. That's possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we'll see though. Should be a ton of fun topics to go over going forward.
for sure. But I think that's it for us. I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. If you did, leave a like on the video. If you're using Apple or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. That'd be great. We would love that. Check out our social media. Check out my social media if you're into music related content. I should be having a new video out soon. And yeah, again, check out our social medias. I'll try to work on TikToks. I say that all the time, but I'll try to get on that. And I think we're done here. I think we're done. So, any last remarks before we go?
Yeah, as Memo mentioned, if you like our content, please give us a like, comment, and subscription. And of course, you can listen to our podcast via all those other platforms as well if you prefer to listen as opposed to watch on
Uh-huh.
YouTube. And stay tuned for upcoming content. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up soon.
Yeah, stay tuned, everybody. Bye bye.
Deuces.